The darkest conspiracy theories. The advanced ancient civilization. This theory says that at the time of the Egyptians, the civilization was far more advanced than it is now. And this is also how the pyramids could be explained. Because why are the pyramids in the exact same order as the stars in the Orion's belt? And what is more interesting, why is the speed of light and the altitude of the pyramids the exact same number? So many apparent coincidences, and they don't stop there. Because look at the motherboard of a modern computer and compare this to the lineup of the pyramids. Do you see a certain pattern here? Or is it just another made-up theory?
Yeah, it's clipped for humans.
OpenAI performed a series of risk evaluations on the model and found that it was ineffective at gathering resources, replicating itself, or preventing humans from shutting it down. It was, however, capable of hiring a human through TaskRabbit.
Oh my god.
And getting them to solve a CAPTCHA for it. So ChatGPT can just go on like Fiverr or TaskRabbit or whatever the Amazon version is called and get people to do things for it. So if it detects that it is incapable of doing something, it can solve that problem by enlisting a human. Woo! Okay, moving on.
So you see her hands go above her face once. Watch when they come back down.
I wanted to post screenshots of the AI filter coming off so people could see for a bit longer just how insane this is.
Watch her face glitch. Now watch her back tattoo disappear.
Sight is what you see with your eyes, and vision is what you see with your mind. What if this has been right in front of our face all along? Does that look familiar to you? Looks like a pyramid to me. Out of all the writing in every single pyramid, there's not one piece of writing that talks about how the pyramids were actually made. But what if it's because the people who found the pyramid were at the top and that information's at the bottom? But we've seen this before, because just like the Easter Island statues, they have full bodies. And it took us a very long time to actually figure this out. And on the back was writing that we never knew was there. We couldn't see it the whole time. So what if what happened here is the same thing that happened here? It's definitely something to think about.
You would think this is somewhere in Africa. You would think this is somewhere in Egypt. But nah. This is in Memphis, Tennessee, tore down in the late 1800s. You see the state column buildings in the back? Those buildings are still used today as Capitol buildings. You see the pyramids? We know the truth now. We know who built them. We've been here.
Louisiana is home to the oldest moundworks in all of North America. Watson Break is an archaeological site consisting of 11 mounds built over 5,000 years ago, which predates both the Egyptian pyramids and Stonehenge. Later, the Poverty Point culture constructed the largest and most complex late archaic earthwork found in North America. It expanded over 100 miles. These findings upset the commonly held view that the indigenous lived solely nomadic lifestyles, but proved that these cultures had sophisticated and centralized hierarchies that are necessary for building large-scale works. So impressive were these sites that the Department of Interior nominated them as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In 2014, Poverty Point was the first site in Louisiana approved as a World Heritage Site to join the ranks of the Egyptian pyramids and Stonehenge.
So fun fact, one of the LSU mounds is 11,000 years old. The other one is around 7,500 years old. The pyramids are 4,500 years old. which means the LSU mounds are older than the pyramids. Like and follow for more.
I think it's time we have to have this conversation, because it seems like nobody would not have this conversation. You mean to tell me all these pyramids, they had Egyptian mommies in there, and we just gonna pretend like they was empty? So we just gonna pretend like all these mommies in these tombs, they took over there to ancient Egypt, which this was Egypt, the new Egypt. They took all these King Akhenaten, King, Queen Sheba, all these ancient mommies, royals, that we just gonna ignore. We just gonna emphatically ignore all these pyramids in America. They house these ancient Egyptian tombs. King Tut. All these tombs we just gonna ignore. Then right here, all these Indian mounds and pyramids too, of the Mississippian culture, which is us. So we just gonna ignore. We just not gonna have this This is this conversation we just not gonna have. We just gonna be dumb as a culture and not tell them to bring back our mommies, Egyptian mommies, that's over there in the phony Israel, over there in the phony Egypt. See, what makes me mad about us? They already told you where the Egyptians go. How did they disappear? Where did the Native Americans go? How did they disappear? Right? Where the Palestinians go that was black? How did they disappear? Right? Where did the black Mexicans go? How did they disappear? Where did the black Aboriginal Chinese go? How did they disappear? See, they never disappeared because they was all in America. They was all in America, and they took everything over there, right, on the Eastern Hemisphere, and created everything and then applied it to them. That's how everybody disappeared, because they left us here, right? Well, we kicked them out, so they continue the culture that they stole, right? As you can see, this is Chicago with the turbans, the camels. They took everything from here and took it over there and killed all the camels in America. As you can see, this is Memphis, Tennessee. They hid and blew up all the Sphinx, and they took it over there and they recreated it. This is how they made everybody disappear. Quite intelligent. But we never left Egypt.
One of the most evil, vicious Navy bases in the history of the planet. They do stuff that would make like Santa Claus. Diego Garcia.
So
wait.
Sorry.
Diego Garcia. That's where that first Malaysian plane is. That's where it landed. It had 4 scientists on it. Huh? 20 scientists, but 4 had filed for patents. It was Malaysia, but they worked out of Austin, Texas, for Texas Instrument. And the ones behind that plane was Texas Instrument, the government, and Boeing, who made the plane. And everybody is stupid enough to believe that a plane almost a block long can just disappear. With the electronics we have, all the technology we have, the next generation of cars will come out, there'll be no driver. So we got 4 of those top scientists that had filed for patents worth $400 billion. Okay? So if 1, 2, 3 of us and your brother, 4, we filed for patents. And then here's a friend of yours who's with us. So 5 of us filed for patents. If we die before the patent is granted, then Your brother, who wasn't on the plane with us, he owns them all. So those 4 scientists, and the 5th person was the Carlisle group. They own them all now. The patent was granted 3 days after the plane was missing.
Wow.
Okay? And so what I'm saying is, this is the game, and if you can't follow that thread, then you don't.
Crazy. What were the patents for?
Huh?
What were the patents for?
Well, the patents was, you heard people talk about they're gonna one day inject you and can control you. Well, these guys come up with something, they don't have to inject you. They just put in this room and you come in and you smell it. Okay. And that's why they killed them. They might have not killed them. They might just let them sit there and die.
I never get my...
And guys were down here taking breaks. We're downtown Flint. Downtown. So check this out. That tree is clearly 300 years old. Probably 200. But look at what we found inside. What is this? I got some markings on it, but I don't know. That ain't natural. Anybody got any thoughts?
Is there an ancient civilization underwater off the coast of Louisiana? Let's take a look. So this retired architect turned amateur archaeologist George Gillet, hope I'm saying the name right, claims to have found the remnants of ancient civilization submerged underwater somewhere near the Rothschild Islands. Apparently there are these large granite mounds underwater there, which he is claiming they are the ruins of an ancient civilization, including a pyramid. His theory proposes that these granite mounds are artifacts from a 12,000-year-old lost city. Of course, this has not been confirmed, been met with some skepticism. More research needs to be interesting, nonetheless. What do y'all think?
The ruins of an ancient civilization off the coast of St. Bernard Parish.
He claims there are large mounds underwater that may have once been the site of a lost city thousands of years ago.
Paul Murphy reports local fishermen have long talked about strange and unexplained things happening in that area.
The Chandeleur Islands are a chain of uninhabited barrier islands located in the Gulf of Mexico, 50 miles east of New Orleans. But 12,000 years ago, before a dramatic sea level rise at the end of the last ice age, this area may have been dry land.
3 different search areas.
Retired architect and amateur archaeologist George Gillet believes the site, now underwater, was once home to an ancient civilization. He dubbed the city Crescentis.
What's down there is hundreds of buildings that are covered with sand and silt and that are geographically related to the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Giza is a city in northern Egypt where ancient pyramids and the Sphinx are located. Gillet claims to have found mysterious mounds of granite under Chandeleur Sound. Granite is not native to Louisiana or Mississippi.
Somebody floated a billion stones down the Mississippi River and then assembled them outside of what would later become New Orleans.
Pyramids in Louisiana that's as old as Jesus. This is for entertainment purposes only.
The burials in this 30-foot-high mound began at the same time that Christ was
Jesus
born
Christ
a half
himself!
world away, 2,000 years ago.
2,000 years
There are
ago.
clearly some very interesting alignments.
When scientists mapped the
Just
alignments
listen,
of the mounds,
Egypt
they
was
found
in
a
America.
perfect north-south and east-west orientation.
The sun's going to set down into X.
And mounds that point to the summer and winter solstice.
Come on now.
I just cannot accept that that's coincidental.
Indian burial mound. In Louisiana, the burial mound of the Marksville Indians was 90 feet in diameter, 21 feet high, and contain more than
in
1,000
America.
skeletons. Where are the skeletal remains of these people? This is a depiction of the ancient mounds 2,000 years ago before Christ. These mounds predict the movement of the moon, stars, and the sun, predicting the winter and summer solstice.
Listen.
We already know what kind of people build equinoxes and solstices.
So when we tell y'all
we know
they
the
had
truth
Egypt in America where they had pyramids and knew the winter solstice and knew how to calculate the sun and the moon, and they wasn't connected to the Native Americans, I need y'all to start listening and go start doing your own research. You feel me? And the people that was in them pyramids, we know who those people are. Let me know what y'all think about these pyramids been old as Jesus in the comments. Like and follow for more wisdom and stay tuned.
I'm about to blow y'all mind because they're literally putting it in our face. So you're telling me we're still denying the existence of melanated Afro people in America pre-Columbus? I hope y'all know what's going on in the Grand Canyon. We have Sphinx statues in the Grand Canyon. Hieroglyphics. Oh, you see that other statue? There is an Egyptian temple named after an Egyptian goddess in the Grand Canyon. I'm pretty sure everybody has seen the Great Seal of California. You see that Amazon warrior who is depicted as white? Well, the original seal of 1510 was an actual melanated Afro woman, and her name was Queen Calafia, hence California. There have been depictions of her in caves, but you know they whitewash everything. I'm gonna let the goddess explain.
Calafia was described as a black warrior queen who ruled the mythical island of California. The island was inhabited only by black women who lived like Amazon warriors. What? California could have possibly been ruled by black women?
Y'all know Las Vegas, right? That's right next to California and Arizona where the Grand Canyon is. We talked about these Egyptian artifacts, crypts, all of that found in the Grand Canyon. Remember how I said they put it in our face without actually telling us? There's a spot in Vegas called Luxor with a pyramid, a sphinx, and Egyptian statues. They also have a museum that shows mock artifacts of Egyptians. I mean, come on. I'ma just show you an up close and personal picture. We also got skulls that resemble Afro people found in pre-Columbus layers in Mexico and Texas. And you can say, oh, maybe they just wanted to build it right there just because. But in all honesty, I'm not going for that. Every monument that's placed everywhere has a specific reason why it's there. There is sacred geometry and architecture that they don't want to tell us. Specific places like Washington, D.C., they put them in specific areas for a reason. So I'm not going for this. I want to know what y'all think though, because all of this is not adding up, but it's adding up. So stay dangerous and keep your first eye open.
Pyramid-shaped stone, dead center in the middle of an approximately 300-year-old tree, has some crazy connections to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Last week, on June 29, 2023, Tim Franks, owner and operator of Tree Service, was on his lunch break and fooling around with his crew, noticed this stone sticking out of a tree. They began digging in, and what they found is absolutely incredible. After coming across the TikTok video myself, I reached out to Tim to ask for some pictures, in the off case that it was some Norse runes. I always think it's Norse runes. And Tim sent me back these images. After a quick Google image search, downed it when it came back with this image of Egyptian Coptic text. After reaching out to Tim to do some quick little measurements, we discovered that the exposed corner of the pyramid points due south, which led me to believe that the other three corners pointed in the other true direction. After asking his employee Steve to take a measurement from the bottom of the pyramid to the tip of it running up the spine, we discovered that it was 54 inches in length or 137 centimeters. The Great Pyramid in Egypt's 137 meters. Using a quick Google map search, its location next to the Gilkey Creek, which by the way also flows north just like the Nile, was approximately 3,000 feet or around 9 meters. The Pyramid of Giza is 9 kilometers from the Nile River. When representatives of the city of Flint, Michigan came out, they said it was most likely a mile mark. What the hell are they drinking in that water? Oh yeah, that's right. Tim, being an expert on trees, estimates that the tree is 300 years old. The city of Flint was founded in 1819. Also, no history in this country of pyramid-shaped mile markers. It could have just been a settler that had an affinity for Egyptian culture and understood Coptic language. Except the Rosetta Stone wasn't discovered until 1799. Some more investigation and maybe some help from some archaeology friends, and we can find out what the hell's going on in Flint, Michigan with this incredible and sensational find. Stay focused, savvy.
George Gelley, a retired architect and amateur archaeologist, claims to have found an underwater city he has named Sanchez, located in the Chandelier Islands 50 miles off the coast of New Orleans. Gelley says the city may date back 12,000 years and has a pyramid at its center, which he claims emits a strong energy which has caused sailors' navigation instruments to malfunction. Fishermen in Louisiana have reported strange events in the area, including instruments on their boats malfunctioning and other peculiar stories that are reminiscent of the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Some believe that the area off the coast of St. Bernard Parish may have been dry land before the end of the last ice age 12,000 years ago. It's not clear if Sanchez is a real lost city or not. Let me know what you think down in the comments below.
So I shared a video earlier about how they found a pyramid in ancient civilization off of St. Bernard, Louisiana. Now, I grew up in Slidell, Louisiana my whole life, and now I live between Mississippi and Louisiana, like 10 minutes out of, Slidell and stuff. I'm right in the crack of Louisiana and Mississippi. Well, this is just how I feel about this topic, and nobody's going to persuade me otherwise because it's interesting for me. Now, growing up down here, there was a lot of weird stuff that always happened in the Gulf of Mexico. You had the whole Cthulhu-like accident that happened with the fire coming out the water. Like, what the hell was that? But let's just ignore that still. I don't believe it, I don't believe the bullshit they're feeding us about it because it was too off the charts. But in the last couple of months, there's been a lot of reports of sonic booms and people like, hey, did y'all hear that big loud boom that came out and they couldn't figure out what it was? It wasn't Stennis testing. It wasn't Stennis testing. But that's interesting on top of them finding this pyramid that screws up sailormen's compasses when they're driving. So, hey, look, there's that too. It's something that makes it a little bit more like suspicious for me and like makes me believe that there's this pyramid down there is it's one of the oldest places in the country for that, one of the oldest ports and whatnot. I love New Orleans, so interesting. But I live where the Navy SEALs train. I live off of Stennis, right outside of the buffer zones. And a couple of weeks ago, right after one of our bridges shut down out of nowhere that connected to Louisiana, there was all kinds of stuff. You could hear all these helicopters out in the marsh. So I'm out there looking at it because I thought maybe my son was riding the four-wheeler or something. I was like, okay, my son's riding the four-wheeler. Let me go see if it's him. And it wasn't. And I'm standing in the road, and all these helicopters had their lights off, flying in and out the marsh. And it was, like, super weird. That's why I was talking about the Helm of Jade a couple of videos ago, because we had just dealt with that with the helicopters. So there is some stuff going on. I don't know what it is, but it's very interesting to me. It's so exciting. And then I found out, after looking up the magnificent laws and metal detecting laws in Mississippi, I'm not supposed to keep anything that I catch because everything is a historic landmark, and now I have to go through everything back, and that makes me even more suspicious of everything.
You were telling me about Epstein and this island years ago. You were telling me long before anybody, I think you told me about him before his first arrest.
A long time ago, I talked about how they have these islands, they fly, they compromise children. But I learned all this from Ted Gunderson 20 plus years ago. He was in line to be the FBI director. He was the head of the FBI in Los Angeles. He was a very famous FBI agent. He came out and he was the one that explained to me about how they use these blackmail rings and foreign intelligence groups.
and how they would basically make people have sex with children to be part of these clubs and these cults they were setting up.
The darkest conspiracy theories. Benjamin Franklin has a disturbing secret that wasn't uncovered until 1998. You see, a team of renovators were working on Franklin's old house. And in the basement, they ended up finding over 1,200 human bones. Now, some people thought Benjamin Franklin murdered these people, but the actual explanation is a little less violent. You see, it turns out his home was used as an illegal anatomy school. Gravediggers would bring bodies to the house to be studied, and afterwards they'd just bury them in the basement.
This island has one of the most disturbing histories in America, and no one really knows the full truth behind it. So like I said before, this island was owned by multi-millionaire Francis Sheldon, pictured right here. And Francis and a number of other local men from Michigan, including this guy, Gerald S. Richards, ran a boys' camp on the island. They would fly kids to the island on this airstrip, kids from the YMCA and other schools and communities in the area. And both the children and the parents of the children who attended this boys' camp were told that this was an island of fun where kids could relax. They had big brothers there. It was going to be totally safe. And this camp ran on this island for a period of years. Then one day, some of the kids who attended the camp began to tell their parents that the counselors or the teachers, the adults that were there on the island, had behaved with them in very, very inappropriate ways. They began telling their friends and parents that they were taken into these cabins pictured here on the island. They were assaulted. They were told to remove all of their clothing and that there were cameras all over the place. Well, it turns out that this guy, the multi-millionaire with political and business connections in the area, Francis Sheldon, was running a massive CP ring. And they had been abusing the children on this island under the guise of bringing them to a boys' camp for years, recording all of it, selling it across the world. And some of the more affluent clients of their business were even allowed to take trips to the island themselves to see some of these young boys. Now, this story bears an obvious resemblance to the story of Jeffrey Epstein, but there are some very, very strange things that are happening here that nobody knows about and the government still refuses to talk about to this day. So let's talk about this guy, Gerald S. Richards. He was a gym teacher at a local Catholic school who went down for the crimes, and he was heavily involved with every aspect of this business, if you know what I mean. Well, it seems like through his political and business connections, Francis Sheldon was actually tipped off that he was about to be arrested and raided and charged with these horrific crimes. So Francis, before he could be brought to justice for these crimes, he actually fled the country in a personal plane. He then moved to France, got remarried, and died in Amsterdam, and never had to pay for any of the crimes that were committed here. But it's when we start talking about the murders that this story really starts to blow my mind. So take a good look at this guy, Chris Bush. This is Christopher Bush's father, Harold Lee Bush. Now, he was an executive with General Motors, and the family was obviously extremely wealthy. They were politically connected, and they were very connected to every business in the area. These guys had a lot of power. But back to Christopher Bush. This guy had assaulted a number of children. He'd been let out of prison, let out of jail in a very, very suspicious way multiple times, put on bail for serious offenses. And he was an alleged associate of the crime ring that was happening on North Fox Island. Meaning that, like I said earlier, he was one of those people who could afford to actually fly out to the island to do things himself. I'm out of time. Follow for part 3. This is where it gets juicy.
Ever heard of the phantom time hypothesis? It's a theory that suggests we've been living a lie. The hypothesis is a historical conspiracy theory proposed by German historian Heribert Illig in 1991. According to Illig, we are not living in the 21st century, but rather in the 18th century. Sounds crazy, right? The theory suggests that the early Middle Ages, 614 through 911 AD, never happened and were fabricated by the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and possibly the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII. They allegedly altered the existing calendar to place themselves at the special year of 1000 AD, creating a phantom time of 297 years that never existed. Illig's hypothesis is based on the scarcity of archaeological evidence that can be reliably dated from the years 614 through 911, the perceived inadequacies of radiometric and dendrochronological methods of dating this period, and the over-reliance of medieval historians on written sources. The phantom time hypothesis hypothesis is widely dismissed by mainstream historians and scholars. It contradicts verifiable historical and archaeological data from around the world, and the Gregorian calendar we use today, introduced by Pope Gregory XIII in 1582, is widely accepted as accurate. So, what do you think? Are we living in a fabricated timeline?
A black slave owner.
I had a black ophthalmologist come through here, Ellison, and we sat on this couch right here. And his great-great-granddaddy owned 68 slaves. And here I am, white, over here, and my great-great-granddaddy didn't own any slaves.
I told y'all that slavery shit didn't happen like they say it did. Now allow us to continue this goddamn education. William Ellison Longhead ass was the largest of 171 so-called black slave owners in South Carolina. 171. Ellison held over 900 acres, 68 slaves, and his wealth was said to be 15 times greater than any man in the state. Mind you, this 1860s. Before Ellison, Negro slave magnates Justice Angel and Mistress Horton got married in 1810. In possession of 84 slaves apiece prior, between 1810 and 1860, they had about 168 slaves and owned up to 2,700 acres of land. Matter of fact, this they plantation behind me. Now, this whitewash perception of slavery has gone on for far too long, y'all. But it's alright, because we're going to get it straight. Like, share, comment, and let me know if you ever heard of William Ellison or Justice Angel. Part 3 on the way.
Some of you still can't see that once upon a time, giant trees existed. It's really quite obvious when you look with an open mind. A lot of them look like they have been cut down, kind of further proves giants really did exist on Earth, along with many other proofs. Anyway, if you didn't already believe giant trees existed then, you will after this next video.
So really quick, I'm going to show you this, how the trees are fibers, and for some reason this shows the true color. A big chunk of this just fell off. See part of the grain. This is the way the fibers are, right here. See? Hold on a second. You see it's nothing but wood. Okay, so we're gonna go down over here and I'll show you a little more, okay? See here. And at an angle. Okay? All this, everything. This whole mountain in a 100-mile radius. Come right over here. You see, this looks just like freshly chopped wood. We peeled a piece off of there. This is what we see. This is the wood. See that? That's just got the moss on it. And all this here, all the way back up in here, I'll show you that in a second. You come right here. And you see, we'll peel a piece off here. It's just wood. It's so crazy. All this. And then you go right over here. See? This is the fresh stuff. This is what we see. Gosh, you grew. Go over here. Part of the source tree. They are so glad they came. They are just floored. Okay? Just want to show you. And when I do the video on the quartz, the quartz, the mica, and the gold, it's going to be my final chapter. It's going to be a long one. And it's going to blow your mind. You see this? That's incredible. Wood is like fibers. See here. All this. Everything I've shown in every one of my videos. The mountains. And it's not just here. It's worldwide. You see, this don't have the moss on it. Alright, we're gonna end it there. I just wanted to show you that. It's pretty incredible. Everything I showed you generally looks like this or like this. But when you break it apart, you see the wood. All of it.
Thanks for watching. Like, follow, and comment to see more content like.
Everyone knows about Epstein Island, but have you heard about Rothschild's Island?
I don't even know who that is.
The Rothschilds are like the most mainstream name when it comes to the Illuminati. Like, everybody knows about them. But yeah, they bought an island off the coast of Antarctica. Why would you want an island in Antarctica?
Why would anyone go to Antarctica?
I think there could be like secret tunnels they have built in under there.
Your go-to is always secret tunnels.
There's no other reason for them to have an island.
Penguins?
You're gonna go deep in the rabbit hole. There's like the grays that everybody talks about, and then there's another thing called the tall whites. The people have described them. They almost look like Scandinavian or something like that, like pale skin. Some alien life is probably, 100,000 years ahead of us, 700,000 years ahead of us, 1,000,000 years ahead of us. But some alien life is probably millions and millions of years ahead of us. They probably don't want to fuck with us anymore. But I bet that intelligence reaches that moment where you can join the intergalactic hive of minds. And the civilization reaches some insane harmony with the very universe itself.
Right.
That's probably where it goes if you don't blow yourself up.
We'll be right back.